Being stuck at home alone doesn't have to be boring. Take it from me, I'm an only child who grew up playing board games by myself. Yeah, sounds lame, but you know what? I always won. One secret to managing cabin fever in a healthy way is to stay creative. So I'm going to share with you 6 photography hacks that you can do at home using household supplies you probably already have. Now, most of these will work on any camera, including your phone, but a few do require a mirrorless camera or a DSLR, something with an interchangeable lens. You may also want a willing muse, someone like a spouse or a roommate or even a pet. I, however, have none of these, so I'll be using this Lego minifigure. A window can make for a beautiful studio quality light source in your home. However, just like when shooting outside, if you have direct sunlight shining through that window, it's probably going to be too harsh. This can make it difficult to balance the exposure, and your subject probably isn't going to be very comfortable unless they're wearing sunglasses. So this is where you need the printer paper softbox. Studio photographers use light modifiers called softboxes to create a large, even light that's flattering for portraits. A softbox is, well, a box with diffusion material on one side, but you can create your own diffusion material out of basic printer paper. Just tape it up to the window and you have yourself a natural light softbox. Yeah, it's a bit janky and your neighbors might have some questions, but it actually works pretty well. You could also use a white curtain or sheet for this, but the benefit of paper is how thin it is. It creates a nice even light without blocking too much of it. Now, this also kind of means you want the cheapest, lightest weight paper you can buy, so save that high GSM fine art burrito for other projects. We've probably all been eating more pasta than we care to admit recently, but did you know there is another use for a colander beyond straining noodles? Available in different sizes with different patterns, these things make for some great light modifiers thanks to the creative shadows they cast that are peppered with little pinpoints of light. You can use virtually any light source for this, from the sun to a lamp to a flashlight, and you can alter the effect by changing the distance between the strainer and the light source. This is a great way to inject a little drama into a photo, or to just spice up an otherwise boring background with a bit of texture. Now, it will take some time to get everything just right, especially if you're trying to hold your camera at the same time. But you know what? It's still easier than trying to clean one of these things. USB or battery-powered LED string lights can be used to create some artistic bokeh effects. These things are available in all kinds of different colors and cost a few bucks on Amazon. To use them, just hold them in front of your lens and experiment with the position of the LEDs until you get the look you want. The closer the lights are to the lens, the blurrier and more abstract they will be. While it is technically possible to use this hack with your phone, it's a little more challenging and the results won't be as good. Phones have a naturally deeper depth of field than mirrorless cameras and DSLRs, and that makes it harder to blur the lights. Also, you simply don't have as much working room given how small a phone lens is. If you do want to try this on your phone, I recommend using the telephoto lens if your phone has one, or even portrait mode for the best results. If you don't have a prism just lying around your house, you can pick these up online for about 15 bucks or less. And you can actually emulate this hack using other types of reflective surfaces like a pocket mirror or even the screen on your phone. The effect will be a little bit different, but they'll get you close. There are a couple of ways to use a prism. One is to create foreground effects by holding it close to your lens. This can get all kinds of reflections or abstract blurs depending on how you angle the prism. Oh, and it's pretty easy to use this with your phone too. The other technique is to actually shine light through the prism and onto your subject or the background. Since prisms split white light into its component colors, this will create a rainbow pattern that can spice up your image. You might not be able to find these in grocery stores anymore, but there's a good chance there's a stockpile of them under your sink. There are actually a few photographic uses of the humble plastic bag, but I'm going to focus on one: as a flash modifier. Seeing as you're stuck inside, you may be tempted to shoot more flash photography, but the pop-up flash on your camera does a pretty terrible job. This is where a plastic bag can actually help. Just trap some air inside, tie it, and hold it in front of your flash. Like the paper window softbox we made earlier, the plastic bag diffuses the light from the flash, creating a larger source that casts softer shadows and makes for more flattering portraits. So you might be wondering why I'm using a plastic bag on this external flash, which I could just angle up at the ceiling to get a soft light that way. Well, it's because I'm trying to illustrate a point about pop-up flashes using a camera that does not have a pop-up flash. So you'll just have to trust me, the plastic bag trick works on pop-up flashes too. Free lensing is the photographic equivalent of coloring outside the lines. You just take a picture without the lens attached to your camera. Yeah, this works. Free lensing leads to some unpredictable results with light leaks and weird colors and even some tilt shift-like effects. Unfortunately, this is a bit harder to do today because many modern lenses depend on the electronic connection to the camera to power both its aperture and focus, and there's no way to control those things if the lens is disconnected. So for the best results, you'll want an older mechanical lens. I also prefer free lensing with a DSLR lens, but a mirrorless body, which this is not. This is because when you move a lens farther away from the camera than what it was designed for, it loses its ability to focus on things that are far away and essentially becomes a macro-only lens. But with this lens being designed for a DSLR's longer flange back distance, it actually pairs very well when free lensing on a mirrorless body, allowing me to get the full focus range out of it. I would also caution against free lensing with your phone, as removing a lens might be problematic.